TesseracT is a progressive metal band from the UK who are releasing their third album, Polaris, on September 18th. I'm joined by their bassist, Amos Williams. How are we, Amos?
Really good, man. Really cool. Really busy, and as a result, really happy. So,
excellent. Excellent. Where am I calling you from?
I am in Shanghai at the moment. I live here with my wife, Scott.
Oh, wow.
A job over here for a few years, so that's a bit nuts with the travelling back and forth to Europe to meet up with the rest of the guys who are in the UK. But it's fun, and being a musician means that I can do that. And all the sacrifices that she's made to be with me, I can do the same to be with her.
Oh, wow, that's really, really cool. So as I said, new album coming out soon. It's called Polaris. The first thing that struck me a bit weird. I saw the artwork and I really, really loved it. Who made that?
It's a guy from the UK called Simon Page. He is kind of a graphic designer and more for like textiles and things like that. But he's done a load of work on posters for films that are more illustrated. Basically, I saw his work and saw that it was quite almost like tessellated patterns, very smooth movements repeated over and over again. And I saw this and figured it's really going to work. There was lots of depth to it. It's a very simple idea. Basically, just hexagons repeated over and over with different colours and opacities, and those blending of those colours creates a very exciting image to look at. So we just spoke a little and changed it a little in there to make it fit with the image of a tesseract, and it just worked out perfectly. So I'm really hoping that it captures people's eyes.
Well, it certainly captured my eyes. In terms of the actual music album, how would you describe it? How is it different or similar to the last one?
It's fairly similar to our previous state, but the big change is that we've got an original singer back, Daniel Tompkins, who was with us in the first album, as things just didn't work out with Ash, so we needed to move on from that. And as a result, Dan is working very hard at the moment to make his storytelling quite strong. So we feel that the album has a depth to it lyrically that we haven't had before.
Awesome. Obviously I haven't heard the lyrics to the album yet, but one of the track names caught my eye. It's called Seven Names. Do you know what that's in reference to?
Well, that's basically the concept of that track is about almost being like a vagabond, walking around with no home and no place that you can really call your own, and just it's almost a analogy for being a musician, a metaphor, if you will, for being a traveling musician, where sometimes you don't feel like you have any permanence anywhere. And that's just the way that Dan felt this was the best title he could apply to create that image.
Oh, cool. This album is also available in a deluxe edition, which, as well as a 24-page booklet, also features a surround sound version of the album. How exactly do you go about mixing a surround sound album?
Well, you're actually going to take a lot more care with the stereo mix, because you end up with twice the amount of speakers. I know that sounds like I'm stupid at math, but you basically have two stereo arrays plus a dialogue channel, which is where it was designed for film reasons. Originally, it was designed for film, so you'd have your incidental music in the background on the front speakers, and then some environmental music, environmental sounds in the rear speakers, and special effects going on, and then the speech that was going on, the dialogue, would actually just be anchored in the center. So when you translate that to music, often it's sensible to throw away the middle speaker because it breaks up the stereo image a little that people are used to when they hear music. So you have to be really careful with the room that you're mixing in. It has to be very, very much designed for audio mixing, whereas with stereo you can almost get away a little with, say, mixing in a bedroom or mixing in a living room, because people listen to stereo in a very unpredictable environment and often in a not ideal environment. So it's quite challenging to get these things right, because you have to try to hope that people have set up their stereo speakers well, but to then apply that to 5.1, you're almost fighting a lost battle already, because unless people are listening in a perfect environment, it's going to be quite challenged initially.
Oh, cool. Now, you're the bassist of the band. You sort of seem to have a rather more prominent role than a lot of bassists you see out there. I mean, particularly in metal, you often find that the bass can kind of get a bit drowned out in the mix. How did this come about?
I think it's simply because the tuning that our guitar is in is actually lower than traditional tuning. It's a good 4 or 5 times beneath the standard 6-string guitars. So already you're entering the bass guitar range. And certainly there are many bands like Moshpit, for example, who have their 2 guitarists and their bassist are all tuned in exactly the same way. And that might sound odd what you mean. Of course they're tuned the same way, but I mean that the bass player's strings are tuned to the same octave as the guitarist's strings. So it's quite a powerful unison you get, and you're basically using the inherent sonic qualities of the bass guitar to really put a punch into the mix. And that's kind of had a massive influence upon us, except that I'm tuned lower than the guitarist, so that's where that influence is clearly viewable in TesseracT.
Speaking of influence, I'm not sure necessarily how you feel about the whole gent genre term, but regardless of whether you like it or not, you've influenced so many bands. I mean, I see so many bands influenced by a lot of you guys, as well as Periphery and a bunch of other bands. How do you feel about that? Do you feel sort of proud that your music has gone on to play a vital part in other people's creativity?
It's wonderful to see that it inspires people to get up and play music, because the more music that is out there, the more fun we can all ultimately have. Because music has a very powerful effect on musicians' lives, definitely, but also the general wider public. So if we're able to get somebody to get into a studio or even just in their bedroom to make something fantastic because they listen to our music, then it's a wonderful thing to have done. And I wouldn't say it makes us proud as such, but it makes us happy to know that is happening.
Awesome. Earlier this year, you released a live DVD. A, what goes into making a live DVD? And B, I feel like that's a big milestone for a band to put out a video medium as opposed to just audio. Do you feel that that's a sort of big achievement?
For us, technically, it was a huge achievement, and we have basically got ourselves a technical rig that we take with us that if we feel the need to, we could record every show as you would an album, so with 32 channels or 48 in fact of individual audio that you could then go and mix after. And we did that in preparation for this DVD, but it also led to the fact that we then recorded as many of the shows as we could on that European tour, and we were able to do like a best of tour CD as well, which was a bit stressful to put together because you're kind of learning on your feet and performing and recording and thinking about all the different things at the same time. But the DVD opened up a desire in the band to do more things like that and to start to create shows rather than just performing a gig. There's nothing wrong with the gig, but doing a show creates something else, something that I feel might help make the music last a little longer. And it's fun to see that there are other bands out there doing that, and other musicians, like, say, Devin Townsend, for example. He is very much of the mindset that he wants to go out and create a spectacle. And I think that had a big influence upon us, seeing his Retinal Circus show and then his Ziltoid show at the Royal Albert Hall, and realizing that you could do something quite fantastic that people will really enjoy for years and years to come.
Now, you guys are going to be here in Australia on tour for the album. Is that something fans can look forward to, more of a show, or will that be more in the future?
That'll be more in the future, I think. Right now, we're still at the stage where we're just focusing on promoting the album, so we'll hopefully get to a point when we can bring a lot more production with us in the future, and maybe do a smaller number of shows, but a larger event, if you see what I mean, where there's something more than just the songs going on. Hopefully there'll be a bit of video, maybe even some form of immersive audio event, because that's something we've always wanted to do. So you're almost taking a cinema setup with you, which will hopefully not get lost in the live environment, and could be something quite exciting and quite unique that fits the TesseracT vibe quite well.
Definitely something to look forward to. So TesseracT will be releasing their third album, Polaris, on September 18th, and touring around Australia in mid-October. Thank you so much, Amos, for joining me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for talking to me.
Have a wonderful day.
Cheers, man. See you later.
See ya.